The papal brief is a formal document emanating from the Pope, in a somewhat simpler and more modern form than a papal bull. History. The introduction of briefs, which occurred at the beginning of the pontificate of Pope Eugenius IV, was clearly prompted for the same desire for greater simplicity and expedition which had already been responsible for the disappearance of the greater bulls and the general adoption of the less cumbersome mandamenta. A brief was a compendious papal letter which dispensed with some of the formalities previously insisted upon. It was written on vellum, generally closed, i.e., folded, and sealed in red wax with the papal ring of the fisherman. The Pope's name stands first, at the top, normally written in capital letters, e.g., Pius pp3, and instead of the formal salutation in the third person used in bulls, the brief at once adopts a direct form of address, e.g., Dilecta Filii, Carissimi in Christo Filii, the phrase being adapted to the rank and character of the addressee. The letter begins by way of preamble with a statement of the case and cause of writing, and this is followed by certain instructions without monetary clauses or other formulae. At the end, the date is expressed by the day of the month and year with a mention of the seal, for example in this form: Datum Roma apud Sanctum Petrum, sub annulo piscatorus Divi Mariae, MDLXXXXI, Pont. Nostra anno primo. The year here specified, which is used in dating briefs, is probably to be understood in any particular case as the year of the Nativity, beginning the 25th of December. Still, this is not an absolute rule, and the sweeping statements sometimes made in this matter are not to be trusted, for it is certain that in some instances the years meant are ordinary years, beginning with the 1st of January. A similar want of uniformity is observed in the dating of bulls, though, speaking generally, from the middle of the 11th century to the end of the 18th, bulls are dated by the years of the Incarnation, counted from the 25th of March. After the institution of briefs by Pope Eugenius IV, the use of even lesser bulls, in the form of mandamenta, became notably less frequent. Still, for many purposes, bulls continued to be employed, for example in canonizations, as also in the nomination of bishops, promotion to certain benefices, some particular marriage dispensations, etc. But the choice of the precise form of instrument was often quite arbitrary. For example, in granting the dispensation which enabled Henry VIII Tudor to marry his brother's widow, Catherine of Aragon, two forms of dispensation were issued by Julius II, one a brief, seemingly expedited in great haste, and the other a bull which was sent on afterwards. Similarly, we may notice that, while the English Catholic hierarchy was restored in 1850 by a brief, Pope Leo XIII in the first year of his reign used a bull to establish the Catholic Episcopate of Scotland. So also the Society of Jesus, suppressed by a brief in 1773, was restored by a bull in 1818. A very interesting account of the formalities which had to be observed in procuring bulls in Rome at the end of the 15th century is contained in Practica, by Schmitz-Kahlenberg. Since the 16th century the briefs have been written in a clear Roman hand upon a sheet of vellum of convenient size, while even the wax with its guard of silk and the impression of the fisherman's ring was replaced in 1842 by a stamp which affixed the same devices, in red ink. The bulls, on the other hand, down to the death of Pope Pius IX, retained many medieval features apart from their great size, leaden seal, and Roman fashion of dating. In particular, although from about 1050 to the Reformation the writing employed in the papal chancery did not noticeably differ from the ordinary bookhand familiar throughout Christendom, the engrossers of papal bulls, even after the 16th century, went on using an archaic and very artificial type of writing known as scriptura bolletica, with manifold contractions and an absence of all punctuation, which was practically undecipherable by ordinary readers. It was in fact the custom in issuing a bull to accompany it with a transsumption, or copy, in ordinary handwriting. This condition of things was put an end to by a motu proprio issued by Leo XIII shortly after his election. Bulls were written in the same clear Roman script that is used for briefs, and in view of the difficulties arising from transmission by post, the old leaden seal is replaced in many cases by a simple stamp bearing the same device in red ink. The minutanti employed in the preparation of briefs form a separate department under the presidency of a Palatine cardinal styled Cardinal Secretary of Briefs, with the Secretary of Latin Briefs and Briefs to the Princes as his substitute. When the Secretariat of Briefs was placed under the direction of the Cardinal Secretary of State, the offices of this great department were transferred to the Vatican Palace and established in the unoccupied halls of the old picture gallery, all on the same floor. The extent of business transacted here is evidenced by the archives.